Okay, so assuming that you are being consistent, that you are eating whole food plant-based foods, you've tried lowering the fat, and you still cannot get the weight to budge. You know, like maybe you're losing a little bit, but not quite at the rate that you're wanting to. What do you do? What do you do? How do you figure out if you're eating too much food on a plant-based diet to lose weight? All right, well, that's actually what today's video is about, and I'm gonna be giving you two different ways that you can approach this. One is gonna be a little bit more of a laid-back approach, and one is going to be a little bit more of an advanced approach for those of you who really wanna kind of figure out exactly why this weight is not budging. Okay, so before we jump into what those approaches are, I'm gonna start this video off by saying that aside from any medical conditions, there really is only one reason why you wouldn't be losing weight, and that is that you're not in an actual calorie deficit. So despite not really wanting to, calorie count or really even discuss calories in a plant-based diet, which by the way, I'm not really clear on why that's such a taboo topic in this community, but it is. So despite not wanting to talk about calories, we still have to acknowledge that they exist. So whether we count them, track them in any way, they exist. And whether we track them or not, our bodies certainly know how many calories we're consuming. And there is another side to calories that should be discussed as well, and that is that sometimes people are not eating enough calories. So I know often when we think about calories, it's always about, eating less, but in some cases, some of us are actually not eating enough, and then our bodies are going into starvation mode and hanging on to any excess fat. So the goal of this video is certainly not to be telling you to be eating less. The goal is to help you figure out where your sweet spot is to get you into fat burning mode. All right, so let's jump into approach number one, and that is to journal your food every day for roughly a week or two. And this is just to give you an idea of what you're eating. Now, the laid back version allows you to not sweat the small stuff. So just a rough estimate of what you're eating will do just fine. So even if it looks something like writing down, I had 2 potatoes, 2 tablespoons of the dressing on top of about 2 cups of broccoli. Like just a rough estimate. You don't need to weigh anything. You don't need to put it in a calorie counter. Just some type of rough estimate will do. Now, I have recently picked up this journal on Amazon. I wanted to show you guys this for a minute. It's brand new, basically. I haven't really got into it, but like a week. And this is really cute. I love this journal. I am not sponsored by them. I actually thought of even reaching out to them though, because it is so handy and I feel like it's something that I should be promoting to my audience. But anyways, I will see if I can find the links and have them in my description box below. If I can, then Amazon will pay me like 10%. It's like a very small cut of each purchase if you do use my link, but I'm not actually affiliated with the company at all and will make no money off of any type of sales from them. But anyways, this is really cute. I know it's going to be backwards for you guys because of my camera, but at any rate, I love this because there's actually like a counter here. And the whole thing is that it's for 90 days. So it's really nice because you can kind of scratch off as you go, whatever your habit is, even if it's just getting in more water or exercising or, tracking your food, whatever your new habit wants to be, it gives you 90 days to scratch it off. And let me tell you, there is actually something so satisfying about being able to scratch those things off. It's just, I don't know, it just feels really good when you're able to say that, yeah, I did it. It's just, an accountability feature basically. And then they do have like a bonus tool at the back. It's like a habit tracker, so you can actually put multiple habits down and kind of keep track of it. And then I'll just show you what like a page looks like. I know again, it's backwards, but basically breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, how much water, how many glasses of water you're having, your exercises, cravings, how I feel today about my food and exercise, something to make tomorrow better, and victory of the day. What I like about this book is that there's a lot of space to write kind of, what you've eaten for the day, but it also isn't super detailed. I think there is a lot to be said about the simplicity of this that makes it really nice. So at any rate, this is really cool. Like I said, I will have that linked in my description box below if I can still find it. I was gonna grab my mom and sister one for Christmas and it was sold out at that time. So hopefully it's not sold out. So I will have a look when I upload this video and get that down in the description box. But even if you don't use something like this, You know, you can go to the dollar store and just grab even a notepad. You can just grab a scrap piece of paper. You really don't need anything fancy at all. But the idea is just to write down what you're eating for at least minimum a week, to have a good long look at where, you know, you might be consuming a lot of extra food that could be keeping you at a maintenance level or a calorie surplus. So here's the thing. A lot of us don't realize when, you know, we're having a little bite of something here or a snack over there, or we're finishing a little something that was left on our children's plate, you know, or when we're stuck in traffic, we reach for the snack that we had in our purse just to tide us over. All of these things add up. And you would be surprised actually how fast they add up. I just think that it's super helpful if you commit to writing down everything, every bite of food that goes into your mouth for just a week only, so that you can have a long look and really know what you're consuming on a day-to-day basis. I think with anything, it's really helpful when you have a baseline to work with, because then you can go up from a baseline or down from a baseline. But when you don't have a baseline at all, you really are just kind of going in circles, right? So it's super helpful to have some type of baseline that you can work from. So once you have that all documented for the week, then from there, you can kind of add some food if maybe you're not consuming enough, or you can reduce some of your foods or use some of the amazing tools I've even talked about on this channel, like preloading or adding in more starchy veggies and maybe cutting back on a little bit of the starches that you're eating. There's lots of different ways that you can tackle it, but until you really know where you're at, it's going to be hard to create any type of solution. Okay, so the next approach is the more advanced one. Okay, so before I tell you what that second approach is, in case you are struggling with what exactly you should be eating, then perhaps I can help. So here's the thing. I lost 60 pounds by removing overt fats out of my diet. Things like nuts, seeds, avocados, any of those higher fat plant-based foods. I also included one of my fiber protein shakes every single day for breakfast. Those were the top two things I did to get the 60 pounds off. But what I also did was I kept track of all the foods that I was eating the most and put them together in ebooks so that you can also enjoy the same foods that I was eating to lose the weight. And I think that's what makes my recipes different from all the other amazing vegan recipe books out there, is that I have no overt fats in my recipes at all, and that they are designed specifically with weight loss in mind. So right now I'm running a crazy sale that all of my books are on sale for 65% off. These recipes have helped myself and many others and will put you in the right direction. The sale is on for the next 48 hours only, and the link can be found in my description box below. Okay, so the next approach is the more advanced one, and this is if you are really kind of getting frustrated that you are not losing weight when you feel like you're doing all the right things. And let me tell you, there's nothing more frustrating than that, because it's one thing when you know you're kind of slipping and eating things maybe you shouldn't be eating, but it's another thing when you are doing all the right things, you're staying consistent, you know, you're eating whole food, plant-based foods, and it's still not budging. Super frustrating. So this approach is for you. So that is that now we're not going to just kind of give a rough estimate and eyeball it. We are actually going to measure it out and track it. So this is a lot easier than counting calories, by the way. And I also want to say this is not something that you have to do forever. This is something that you should be doing for only 1 to 2 weeks so that you really create a solid baseline to be able to work with. So what that would look like is when you go to serve yourself your starches, let's say rice, for example, instead of just plopping whatever amount of rice on your plate along with whatever else you might be eating with it, you're gonna just grab out your measuring cups. And almost all of us can say that we probably have some measuring cups and measuring spoons already kicking around. So it makes it super budget friendly and super easy. So you're gonna take about 10 seconds extra out of your time and you're gonna measure out whatever you want. So I'm not suggesting only eat half a cup of something or 1 cup of something or 5 cups of something. That part is totally up to you. What I would recommend doing is measuring out the same amount of food that you were gonna serve yourself anyways, but just actually measure it out. So at this point, we're not going to do anything about changing the amount. We're just going to measure it so we have an idea of how much food you're consuming. So what that would look like is, you know, measuring out, let's say 2 cups of rice. Now we know that dinner on Monday night, you had 2 cups of rice, you're going to write that down. And then, you know, whatever else you're having with it, if you're having some tofu or, you know, some non-starchy veggies, you're going to measure that out as well. And again, we're not weighing anything, we're not doing calories. So in some respects, it is still just kind of a rough estimate, but it's a lot more precise than just eyeballing it. So anyways, you're going to use measuring cups and measuring spoons for 2 weeks, preferably 2 weeks, and use the same journal or piece of paper or book from the dollar store, and just write it all down. Then by the end of those 2 weeks, you are going to have a solid baseline to work with. At that point, then you can have a good look and say, okay, maybe I should scale back. Instead of having 2 cups, maybe I'll have 1.5 cups. Or maybe I'm not eating enough. Maybe I was only eating 1 cup of starch and it wasn't keeping me full long enough. Maybe I should add in another cup or another cup and a half. So as you can see, it's not necessarily about reducing it, but it's just about understanding where you're at. Now I'm going to share this a little bit with you. There is something to be said about making sure that you actually eat enough at your meals. Because here's the secret. You might feel like, oh, I should be eating less, right? Only 300 calories or something, or 400 calories even. But the thing with that is that it can actually backfire on you, because then you're hungry very quickly after. It's not being able to hold you all the way from one meal to the next. So what ends up happening? We end up snacking. We end up possibly binging because we're just so hungry and can't deal with it anymore. So there is definitely a sweet spot that you should be aiming for, where you're eating enough to feel satiated, to keep you full from meal to meal, but at the same time being in a calorie deficit so that you can actually lose the weight. And that's the beauty of following a whole food plant-based diet, is that these foods are lower in calorie density. So if you're filling up on these foods that are lower calorie density, you can get away with being full and being in a calorie deficit. At any rate, the takeaway from this video is to create a baseline for yourself. So whether you want to just do the laid back approach and just kind of eyeball it and give some rough estimates and kind of work from there, or if you really want to jump right in and get to the root of the problem, then I would highly recommend doing the second approach, to just measure out those portions, track them, and create a beautiful baseline that you can work from there. All right, guys, so I'm going to leave the video here. It is 2025, and I know all of us are trying to put our best foot forward to get this year started off on the right foot. So I really hope that the tips in this video have been helpful to you, and that it will really kind of get you thinking about what your baseline is and how you can improve upon it to get things moving. If it's your first time landing on one of my videos, I'd love to have you stick around and join my whole food plant-based community. So be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. And don't forget about that awesome book sale. It will only be on for the next 48 hours, you guys. I know that some of you guys have been upset when you miss the sales and then end up paying full price, but that's why I try to stress it is only for 48 hours. And my sales are always switching up. I try to keep things affordable for you guys, but I can't run those sales forever. So again, all of my books are on sale right now for 65% off, which is a crazy, crazy discount. So again, that link will be found in my description box below if you want to check out those books. Telling you those recipes are everything. They help me get the 60 pounds off, and they can help you too. So link will be found in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you guys in the next one.